excuse-making really is about politeness, isn't it, in the end?
Yeah, it is about politeness. So say, for instance, something else comes up, which if from your point of view, say it at work, which is a higher priority, right? You don't want to actually say to the person that you're canceling the appointment with that I can't make it because I have something more important to do. Can you imagine?
Well, exactly.
You wouldn't say that. In a way, it's a white lie. You're saying, I'm sorry, my tooth is gone and I have to go to the dentist.
Right.
You make any excuse rather than telling him the truth. It would probably be better if you were pretty honest, but you would still probably hurt the other person.
Yes.
Because in effect what you're saying is, hey, listen, you're less significant to me. You're not a high priority. That other thing's a higher priority. But guess what? That's life. I was on a Virgin train once. I'll never forget this. And the guy says, the train's late because it's going slow. And I thought to myself, you know what?
Technically not an excuse.
I mean, there was nothing on the line, no problems. The train is late because it's late, it's going slow. And I thought to myself, well, at least the guy's honest about it.
Well, it's a little bit like Dominic Raab. When Dominic Raab was asked why he had dropped out of the leadership race for the Tory party, and he said, because I didn't get enough votes.
Sometimes just being honest. I mean, it would be nice if we heard politicians say honest things. From time to time, just being open and honest about things. However, like you say, we're trying to, in a sense, we're doing this to protect other people, not just ourselves.
Well, that's the Boris Johnson defence now we're getting into, isn't it? That he doesn't want to bring his loved ones into the argument, so therefore he doesn't want to talk about how he rows with them all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as we know, we've now got a possibility of 100 selected candidates, whose identities we don't yet know. There's going to be 650 soon. There's going to have to be, at some stage, presumably, a manifesto on what it is the Brexit Party stands for, apart from Brexit.
Well, not necessarily. They did exceptionally well in the European elections last month without a manifesto. The manifesto was going to come later.
Well, so that's my worry then. So people are coagulating behind Nigel Farage without knowing what his policies are.
Exactly. I think you could get away with it in the European elections because it was, there was a clear policy, which is the Brexit Party says, leave with no deal now, just be done with it, and that's, what we're there for. In a general election, people have a whole range of different interests and things that they are concerned about, health, education, welfare, all of those kind of things. And so you are going to have to come up with a manifesto, and you're also going to have to come up with names of people. That one of the things that the party has really struggled with is because it's grown from nothing very quickly, it's a capacity to make sure that the people it's attracting are not problematic in whatever way is very limited. Farage had the same problem at UKIP beforehand, that, you get these enthusiastic supporters who turned out to have said or done something not very nice in the past or even at the same time, and then had to be churched out. So he's keeping these people away from that at this stage, but he wants to show that the party still matters. And for me,
so why announce that he's got candidates if nobody's actually asking him if he has?
Oh, because he wants to show that he is ready for a general election. There's so much talk in Westminster these days about how the new Prime Minister, whenever he is chosen, is going to find out very quickly that he can't get his plans through Parliament, and that will trigger an early general election. Farage wants to show that he's there, ready and waiting, that his agenda about Brexit is going to be pushed hard by him, and he's going to try and capitalise on that success from before. Whether the general public is going to be as convinced by that, I think, is much more debatable. But he wants to show that he's still a force to be reckoned with.
And in a general election, if you have Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage and Jeremy Corbyn as the three sort of front runners, if you like, because I don't know who the Lib Dems are going to have in charge, but it won't be anybody of that kind of character, it's going to be all about the individuals, isn't it?
Well, politics generally has become more about the individuals, which is paradoxical in our system, which is very much about MPs and having that direct link. But the personality issue is going to become more of a part of it. But also we've got a real issue that at the moment public opinion seems to be all over the place. We've got lots of contenders for who matters and who's relevant. The Lib Dems are right up there in the mix as well at the moment. So, politics might be in for some very interesting and consequential debates in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and many of them will be had on this very show.
the wages that Lineker's on.
Yeah.
What value does he actually add? Do you watch Match of the Day because Lineker's on?
No, absolutely not.
Because of the football, don't you?
Of course,
You
and
watch it
also
because of the
quite
football.
often, do you know what? Quite often, I'll watch it on the Sunday night just because it suits me better than on Saturday. And he's not on it on Sunday night because he doesn't work on Sundays. It makes no difference to me.
So, in all honesty, how does he he's not an entertainer, he's not a comedian, he's not a great singer-songwriter,
No.
he doesn't add that. So I just don't understand how they justify that amount of money. Now, I used to be a season ticket at Sir Alexander. I didn't need a pundit. I needed a lot of alcohol before I went, but I didn't need a pundit
Right.
but to tell me what was actually going on the football field. It's the same with, if you take Strictly Come Dancing, I don't know if you ever watched it, Claudia Winkleman just tells daft jokes.
Yeah.
People don't watch, they don't watch Strictly because Claudia's on it. They watch it for the dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I realise you have to have a presenter, but how many presenters do they need on a programme?
And how much? And also, how much do you have to pay them? I mean, Claudia Winkleman's making $375,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
Telling a few daft jokes.
Yeah.
She's not even amusing.
Well, I mean, she's not even writing the jokes, to be honest. So, I mean, it's not really her fault. But, I get your point, Ray. Listen, thank you very much indeed for calling in.
I've been banging on about this for year after year after year. However, I do think that Cliff and Paul Gambaccini aren't going far enough. Not just charge. People should remain anonymous until conviction or they plead guilty, unless they can prove to a judge that it's in the interest of the investigation, in other words, a War Boys type of case or a Jimmy Savile type of case, that it will stop people coming forward. And I think that should assuage the views of some people saying, no, it's going to stop other people coming forward. It won't. I think this is a good idea. It's not going to get anywhere, of course. Members of Parliament are just obsessed with Brexit.
If, for example, all of these sin taxes are so effective in cutting down the amount of horrible fatty and salty foods that people are eating, why have we got such an obesity problem in this country still?
Because we've only had what you refer to as a sin tax for 1 year, and it's going to take much more than a year for the effects of that to come through. The sugary drinks industry levy, which came in April of last year, actually is a success and has astounded everybody.
Well, how do you measure that success, Tam?
You measure the success by the quantity of sugar that is going into our fizzy drink. Before levy came in, people were stuffing sugar into their drinks. And then when the Chancellor got up in the House of Commons and said, we're going to levy you if you do all that, they immediately turned around and said, why are we paying the government all this money? Let's take the sugar out. And almost immediately, sugar started to disappear. And in fact, the news is better, and this will disappoint you, because it's now offering people a choice of paying less for a healthy drink so that it doesn't break the bank. And at the same time, they're not consuming the sugar, which is a huge danger, particularly in terms of obesity, but also in other things.
So what sorts of drinks are they no longer drinking then?
They're fizzy drinks.
Well, that's a very wide area. Can you be a bit more specific, Tam?
Yeah, there are only two fizzy drinks, one made by Coca-Cola and one made by Pepsi, that actually now have to pay the higher levy. All the other drinks, and that is Iron Brew, which was well known for being stuffed with sugar, has come down so that they escape the levy.
So you're telling me that Iron Brew is now a healthy drink?
Absolutely. The new Iron Brew has astounded everybody by being sugar-free, and Iron Brew are actually profiting. And if you want some figures, Coca-Cola, that used to make a fortune on the fizzy drinks, now say that, in fact, 50% increase in their non-sugary drinks and a 12% decline in their fizzy drinks. And that has got to be a huge benefit to everybody. Now, it's going to take 2 or 3, 4 years maybe for the effect of that to work its way through. And, of course, it needs to have help from other areas. Why I'm so cross with Mr. Johnson this morning is that he has said they're all sin taxes. But, in fact, if you start to then tax the sugar and the fat and the salt, which the three of them are injurious to health, then you are going to have ultimately a great effect on obesity. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of thought.
But Tam, you know as well as I do that while this particular tax that we're referring to may have only been in for a year, the war on obesity has been going on a lot longer than that. And quite frankly, if in fact people are supposed to be being educated about how being obese is bad for you, then that, whatever the messages are, they're not working.
You talk about it being a war, and I would agree, but unfortunately the guns are firing in the wrong direction. All we have been doing at the moment is trying to bring people who are overweight or obese down in terms of healthy weight. We have done absolutely nothing to prevent obesity happening in the first place.
What we need to do is, Mike, we need to go to Stevia. Have you heard of Stevia?
Stevia? No.
Yeah.
What's that?
S for Simon, T-E-V-I-A.
Right.
It's natural sugar which is produced from a tree.
Is it?
I think it's, yeah, well, you can get it from the health food shops.
What do you mean natural sugar produced from what sort of tree?
Well, it said, oh, I can't, the packet's gone. It's gone out of the house. It's from, they take it from a tree, and it said product of Norway. I think it's a beech or birch or something.
I'm looking it up now.
Stevia.
They call it a perfect sugar substitute.
Yeah, it's natural.
Derived from the leaves of a tree.
Yeah.
Native to Brazil and Paraguay.
Well, they said bloody product of Norway on it. Okay.
Well, they're lying to you. It's come from Paraguay.
Okay.
Some studies suggest that it has extra health benefits.
Thank you.
However, a few studies show that replacing sugar with artificial sweeteners may not ultimately lead to weight loss.
Artificial, it's natural. It's from the leaf of the Black Sea, Michael.
The Black Sea?
No, it's from a natural plant. It's natural.
Well, they're calling it a sugar substitute here.
It's not a sugar well, okay. It's
well,
natural.
anything that's not from the sugar cane,
yeah,
right?
Okay, but
if it's not from the sugar cane, it's a sugar substitute.
Okay, well, if it's from a leaf of a tree, it's natural. What's more natural than a tree?
Yeah, but you can get sweet things from all sorts of different sorts of trees.
Don't keep doing that. You're making it complicated.
You can get, for example, maple syrup. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, it comes from the maple tree.
There you go. Right, but it's not sugar, is it?
No, but it tastes good.
Well, it's nice on pancakes, if you like that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this stuff you're sort of selling to me sounds like
I'm not selling it to you.
Well, you're sort of punting it in my way. It looks to me like an artificial sweetener.
Look, it's not. It's a sweetener. It's not artificial. It's coming out of the tree.
Yeah, well, lots of things come out of a tree which are then turned into artificial things.
It's not turned into anything. It's kept as it is.
All right, well, tell me how you use it. Do you use it in your tea?
You just sprinkle it. You can sprinkle it in your sugar. You can sprinkle it in dessert.
What, do you have a spoon of it or what?
Well, just a little bit. If it's 200 times more than natural,
that's what I mean. So if you're having a spoon of this, right, in your coffee, you're effectively having 200 spoons of sugar in your coffee. That's quite a lot.
Don't start complicating matters, Michael.
Listen, I'm not bringing you that much joy this morning. I thought you said I brought you joy.
You just complicate. You mess my head up.
Do I?
Right. The next object, the next subject I want to raise with you is the bridge that is Mr. Boris Johnson.
The bridge to Belfast.
No, yes, from Northern Ireland coming to England. What is he going to achieve? It's nothing. It's stupid.
Well, you could actually then have a proper border in the Irish Sea, couldn't you? Because you'd have a border point on the bridge.
Look, this idiot is living in cloud cuckoo land.
You're talking about the next Prime Minister.
I don't care who I'm talking about. You need to just break the wall down between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland.
There's no wall there.
Shake hands.
Well, there is no wall there. That's the whole point. But that's the point. There is no wall.
The barrier.
There's no barrier.
What is it then?
There's nothing there. No, there's nothing.
There is something there, and the politicians created it.
No, there's nothing there because that's why they don't want anything to be put up.
Darling, you can't go freely from Southern Ireland to Northern Ireland.
Yes, you can.
United. You can't.
Yes, you can.
So what? Stop laughing at me.
I'm not laughing at you. Did you just burp, by the way?
No.
Okay.
You don't. So
listen, we're out of time.
No. What happens to when Guinness comes over through the River Liffey?
What do you mean?
We have boats. Guinness is brewed originally from the waters.
Guinness is brewed everywhere in the world now. Guinness is not brewed in Dublin and exported everywhere.
Start doing that. The original recipe was using water derived from the River Liffey. And we have boats coming from Liverpool to England. And it's delicious.
Yeah, no, it's very nice. It's great. Listen, I've got to run to. The producers are giving me hell, telling me that I've been talking to you for too long. We'll talk about Guinness another time. But there is no border in Ireland. That's the whole point of the whole backstop problem. That's why they don't want to construct one, because they think it will be a problem if they put a border up. That's the point. You've not paid any attention for the last 3 years.
You know, it's like fox hunting. They say it's cruel. But I'll tell you what, there's always a chance the fox gets away sometimes. I'll tell you what is cruel is bullfighting.
Yes.
You know, and nobody... it don't happen here. It happens in Spain, probably Portugal, somewhere like that. But nobody really comes on top of that.
What, you mean nobody has a go at it?
But it's still cruelty. It's worse cruel because the fox has got more of a chance than the bull in the ring.
That's true, but the bullfighting has been stopped in a lot of places, hasn't it?
Oh, I don't know, Mike. But,
I think it has. I think it's been outlawed in most places now, but it still goes on in certain parts of the world. I think in Mexico they still do it, and I think in parts of Spain they still do it, but in other parts they don't. They've banned it, I think, in most parts of Spain.
I'm a northerner, and I work for a London company,
right.
But I work all over the country. So, like, you know, you see it all the time, and even, like I say, I go to Newcastle, I'm classified as a southerner. But when we do come into London, I must admit, like your previous caller was saying, it's the pace I don't think us northerners can understand of what you have to live by. I mean, when I drive in to pay my congestion charge to some work down there, you know, and you're having to drive like 8 miles and it's taking you 45 minutes to get there, you know, by road.
That's a good day. Yeah, a good day.
That's a good, so it's a good day. But when, you know, you sort of like do the people watching and you look and everybody is just so busy down there. They don't look up, they don't look around. They're zoned into what they've got to do, and basically they don't seem to notice anything around them. And I think that's what was the northern people classified them as probably being rude. They're not rude, they're just busy.
Yeah, right.
Because
actually, I mean, a lot of the time, you know, you'll find that same as New York. You know, if you actually stop and you eventually talk to people in London, they're actually quite friendly. They're not as horrible as you might think.
Well, I just think the biggest discriminated group in this country are the Cockneys. I mean, I've had to try and get rid of my real strong sort of Cockney accent just through work life. Really,
it's not worked out well for you, is it? You've still got it, mate.
You watch.
What did it used to be like?
You watch a documentary from the 70s, and that's a proper Cockney accent.
Yeah.
You know, but we're the most discriminated group in the country. We've been leaving our own city for about 60 odd years.
Do you find that people think you're a bit of a wide boy because of the way you talk?
Well, this is it. Everyone thinks you're a bit whoosh and you're a bit way. You know, you're a dodgy geezer. And the thing is, I sell sort of bifolded high security doors all over London, West London, primarily in Surrey. And you know, when I turn up for my appointments, I don't generally talk like this. I fade it out because you know we are. And I would say, when was the last Cockney Prime Minister? You know, there's never been one. So we're the most discriminated group in the entire country.
And I think it's even harder for people outside of this country. They don't understand our sarcasm and our wit.
Right.
You know, it's a basic case that we can take the mickey out of each other. And, you know, you do it. It's a given thing, isn't it? You know, you see somebody from the States and you've got to have that bit of banter.
Also, if you go to America or somewhere, right, and Daniel, I don't know whether you found this, but people think everyone in England speaks like something out of Downton Abbey. You know, when you start talking to them in a way which is different, they kind of look at you like they don't think you're from England.
I'll tell you what I did do, Mike. I got stopped by the police driving a jet ski in a no-wake zone where people live, and I went down it doing about 50 on this jet ski.
Right.
And when this cop, when the cop pulled me over, I did turn into Hugh Grant. I went, I've made an absolute terrible mistake.
That wasn't a great idea in front of the American police. They arrested him.
Yeah, but I wasn't doing what he was doing.
Thank God for that.
I got away with it, Mike. I got away with it. I turned all Lord Snooty and I got away with it.
I think that's the way to go. So what about, have you ever been up to Wolverhampton, Daniel? Have you found any discrimination up there?
Yeah, I had a night out, one night in a nightclub. I think Stan Collymore was in there when I went up there one night.
Oh, good luck.
To be honest with you, Yeah, I stayed up there. I did all right. I was young and single at the time, but I seemed to do all right with the women up there, yeah.
That's not what I asked you, Daniel. They see, Paul, they think they can come to your town and pick up all the women.
Yeah, but it all depends whether they're out or whether they're out, innit? You know what I mean?